Again, they do this propaganda by omission in episode 4 with Tom DeVocht. As a matter of fact, and the way it's not only by omission, it also is by putting words in people's mouth. Mike Rinder starts off talking about what Tom DeVocht can say. Tom DeVocht never says it. Mike Rinder says Tom DeVocht has stories. Okay? And so Mike Rinder starts telling a story about how he had to tear up the road, and the entire sidewalk had to be torn up because of protesters coming to the Fort Harrison. Why is Mike Rinder telling us when they sent a whole camera crew, including themselves, for a vacation in Seattle to see him? Why doesn't he tell us? And why I say it's propaganda by omission is because there is a story that kind of, there's a kernel of a truth in there that the sidewalks were in fact torn up around that place, and that it had been a plan in the works for many, many months, if not years, and that permits had been approved recently. So the purpose of tearing up the sidewalks, here's the ones that Dave Miscavige woke up one morning and said, protesters are coming, tear up the sidewalks. The sidewalks were getting replaced as part of a plan that had been years in the making and it had recently been approved. So the next step is to tear up the sidewalks. If there's a benefit, they don't give a platform for people to get in the face of Scientologists at a particular time of the year, great. But it didn't happen like Mike Rinder said it happened, and that's probably why Tom DeVocht doesn't tell us what Mike Rinder tells us Tom DeVocht's story is. It's just absurd on his face that he's got to tell the story of the guy who's the featured person who they fly 3,000 miles to film with a film crew, and he doesn't tell us the story. I mean, that's pretty absurd. So when they do talk to Tom DeVocht starts talking about how David Miscavige is talking to him about technical things at the top of the Scientology bridge. I got news. David Miscavige talked to Tom DeVocht about sidewalks, and he talked to him about elevator shafts, and he talked to him about window frames and door jambs and building plans and hiring contractors. The last thing in the world David Miscavige talked to Tom DeVocht about is technology, particularly technology on levels that were many steps above the levels that Tom had attained. I mean, we're 8 years into this thing, okay? I spoke to Tom DeVocht 6-7 years ago, okay? He never mentioned anything like that. All of a sudden, 7 years after the fact of leaving, 7 years after spilling all and telling all, he's now all of a sudden making up that he's being told by David Miscavige the secrets of the highest levels of the bridge of Scientology. I mean, this stuff is so patently incredible on its face, it's laughable. But, this is part of that whole devolution of people and how all this ASC activity really screws them up and turns them into really, really messed up people. Because I hadn't really talked to Tom for a few years, but, there's been this, he's devolved into this, the more he's been validated and stroked for acting like a victim with respect to Scientology, the more victim he's become. And that is the phenomena that happens. I mean, I really like Tom DeVocht. In fact, when first times I spoke about him, when I spoke to the media early on, I made that clear. I always liked the guy when I was in Scientology. But since we've been out, he's become more and more degraded, to the point where, I did a show where I was trying to establish some objectivity with respect to Scientology, and he was on camera with me having a discussion, and I said, I did get a few, and I was low-key, but I wasn't preaching Scientology. I simply said, I can't be denied that I got some, at the time I felt I got some good tools at the outset when I got involved in Scientology. And this guy literally leapt out of his chair and got in my face and started spewing at me. How do you know you got anything out of it? How do you know? I'm like, Tom, relax. Like, why would he care? I mean, he literally was trying to brainwash me. So this 5 years after this, having left, and having told all he knows, now he's down to not telling all he knows, but trying to edit what somebody else is trying to say. And so the devolution continues. So then that very movie comes out, and I have some critical things to say about it on Scientology. My Scientology movie is called, and I had some critical things to say about it. What does Tom DeVocht do? Because I'm critical of somebody who's, remember, it's us versus them. Anything goes with respect to Scientology. They're fair game. As long as you do something against Scientology, you're with us, right? And so I'm breaking ranks and I'm saying, hey, I'm critically looking at this thing that quote unquote exposes Scientology because it's dishonest in certain respects. What does he do? Tom DeVocht immediately runs to Tony Ortega and starts criticizing me and calling me crazy. Literally publishing, going on record. This is where this guy's gone to. I mean, where he's headed to shopping cart man. He's losing his mind. And it really is hypocrisy, right? Because, remember, one of the first justifications for all this self-love that they give themselves is we want to have the freedom to express our views and things as we see them, right? We want to. Me. But if anybody has anything to say that doesn't walk lockstep with it, you're fair game. And they head after you. I mean, literally, the guy started attacking me publicly. So I comment on his attack on me, right? Tom DeVocht is quoted in that movie as saying, Scientology is, frothing almost. Scientology is the most destructive cult in the world, most dangerous, just, right? And so I comment on the dishonesty of Tony Ortega and the crew from that movie. You know what Tom DeVocht posts? Give it a rest, Marty. Scientology's a joke. It's just entertainment. I'm pointing this out as hypocrisy because he's going to the premiere in Hollywood on the arm of Alex Gibney, right? He's going to date with Alex and back like a big shot on the red carpet because he's frothing at the mouth about how Scientology is the most destructive thing and we got to do something about this, right? And the second I push back a little bit, he's like, hey, it's a joke. The whole thing's a joke. It's just entertainment. Don't you get it? That's why I say it's all about the lulz. It's all about trolling.